ago, when animals could still speak with one another and the world was young, there lived a tortoise named Ijapa. Now, Ijapa was known throughout the land for two things: his cleverness and his greed. His shell was smooth and beautiful then, shining like polished wood in the sunlight. One dry season, when food was scarce on the ground, word spread among the birds that there would be a magnificent feast in the sky. The sky people were celebrating the harvest, and all the birds were invited. There would be pounded yam, a goosey soup, jollof rice, fried plantains, and palm wine flowing like rivers. When Tortoise heard this news, his mouth began to water. "A feast in the sky," he said to himself. "I must find a way to go." He approached the birds as they prepared for their journey. "My friends," he said, using his sweetest voice, "we have been neighbors for many years. Surely you would not leave me behind when there is such abundance to share." The birds looked at one another. They knew Tortoise's reputation, but they also remembered times when he had helped them with his wisdom. After much discussion, they agreed. "We will each give you one feather," said Eagle. "Then you can fly with us." And so each bird, eagle, parrot, dove, crane, and all the others, plucked a feather and gave it to Tortoise. Soon his shell was covered with a magnificent coat of every color imaginable. Tortoise had never felt so grand. As they flew toward the sky, Tortoise called out to his companions. "My friends," he said, "I have learned that when going to a great feast, it is customary for everyone to take a new name. This is how the sky people show respect." The birds had never heard of such a custom, but Tortoise seemed so certain that they agreed. Each bird chose a new name. Eagle became Strong Wings. Parrot became Bright Voice. Dove became Gentle Heart. "And what will you call yourself?" asked Crane. Tortoise smiled, his eyes gleaming with cunning. "I shall be called All of You." The birds thought this was an odd name, but they said nothing. When they arrived at the Sky Kingdom, the Sky People had indeed prepared a magnificent feast. The tables were laden with more food than anyone had ever seen. Mountains of pounded yam, calabashes full of rich soup, platters of roasted meat, and jugs of sweet palm wine. The chief of the Sky People welcomed them warmly. "Welcome, welcome! We are honored by your presence. Please eat and drink to your satisfaction. But tell me, for whom is this feast prepared?" "For all of you," the Sky People responded in chorus, as was their custom. Tortoise stepped forward quickly, his borrowed feathers rustling. "You hear that, my friends? This feast is for me. For all of you is my name. Please stand aside while I eat what has been prepared in my honor." The birds were shocked, but the Sky People had indeed said the feast was for all of you, and Tortoise's name was All of You. According to the custom Tortoise himself had invented, the feast belonged to Tortoise. Tortoise ate and ate. He devoured the pounded yam, slurped the soup, stuffed himself with meat, and drank jug after jug of palm wine. He ate the best of everything, leaving only scraps and bones for the birds. His stomach swelled until he could barely move. The birds watched in growing anger. They had been deceived by Tortoise's greed and cunning. Hungry and humiliated, they huddled together and spoke in whispers. "He has deceived us," said Eagle. "He has no shame," said Parrot. "Then let us take back what is ours," said Crane. And one by one, each bird approached Tortoise and took back its feather. Eagle took his strong feather. Parrot took her bright feather. Dove took her soft feather. Soon Tortoise stood there with his smooth shell bare, surrounded by angry birds and the scattered bones of the feast he had stolen. "Wait!" cried Tortoise, suddenly realizing his predicament. "How will I get down?" "That is your problem," said Eagle, and the birds spread their wings and flew away, leaving Tortoise stranded in the Sky Kingdom. Tortoise looked down at the earth so far below. He was terrified, but his belly was full of food and wine, making him heavy and drowsy. He had an idea. "Parrot," he called to a bird who had not yet flown out of earshot, "please do me one kindness. When you reach the earth, tell my wife to bring out all the soft things from our house, mats, pillows, cloth, leaves, and pile them in front of our home. I will jump and I will land safely." Parrot looked back at Tortoise and remembered the empty belly she carried because of his greed. "I will give your message," Parrot said. But when Parrot reached the earth, she went to Tortoise's wife and said, "Your husband asks that you bring out all the hard things from your house, stones, iron pots, farm tools, and pile them in front of your home." Tortoise's wife was confused by this strange request, but she obeyed. She gathered every hard thing she could find and made a great pile before their home. High above, Tortoise waited until he saw the pile from the sky. Thinking it was soft materials, he took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and jumped. Down, down, down he fell, tumbling through the clouds, speeding through the air. The wind whistled past his ears. The earth rushed up to meet him. Crash! Tortoise landed right on the pile of stones and iron pots. His beautiful, smooth shell shattered into hundreds of pieces. His wife screamed and rushed to him. He was alive, but his shell was broken everywhere. The medicine man was called, and he worked for many days, carefully piecing Tortoise's shell back together. He used strong glue from tree sap and bound the pieces with thin rope until they held. Eventually, the shell healed. But from that day forward, Tortoise's shell has never been smooth again. If you look closely at any tortoise, you will see the cracks and lines where the pieces were put back together, a permanent reminder of the day when greed and trickery led to a great fall.